Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host,
Grandma Gail.
So this week we have a very exciting guest with us, Dennis Basso. I'm going to intro him for a minute. He is a prominent American fashion designer, best known for his work in outerwear and fur. He launched his first label in 1983. And his collections are classic, elegant, but they're also modern. So me and Grandma Gail are both huge fans. He also hosts a show on QVC where he sells his designs. And in 2023, he won a Lifetime Achievement Award. So Dennis Basso is a staple for the fashionable ladies, and he's here joining us today. Dennis, thanks for joining us.
And we're so excited. Grandma Gail is very excited.
I'm thrilled to be here with both of you. I mean, it's amazing. The two of you were the greatest team since, I don't know, Lucy and Ethel.
Oh my God, we love that reference. So we start by asking all of our guests their age, relationship status, and where they currently live.
So I live in New York City, and we are in the Hamptons in Watermill, and I'm married, and I've been with my husband 32 years, but legally it's 12 years since they made it legal. Federally, it became legal 12 years ago.
Right.
And we actually had the first same-sex marriage in the Pierre Hotel's history.
I didn't know that.
At that time, it was 83 years. The hotel was 83 years old 12 years ago. And we were the first same-sex.
Not sex. You got married.
Right.
You didn't have sex.
No, we didn't have sex. We got married.
You got married in the hotel.
Well, once you
very
get married,
exciting.
sex becomes obsolete.
Exactly. You don't do that anymore.
Wait, that's history making. That's amazing.
Yes, it was nice. It's great. It's been great. It's been a wonderful.
How did you meet again?
We met through mutual friends in Fire Island. We were both, I was maybe 35 and he was maybe 28 or 27. I mean, it seems like a lifetime ago. We were, kids, but here we are.
It's wonderful.
So let's start talking about fashion. How did you first get into the industry?
So, I always wanted to be involved in fashion since I was a little boy. I was very busy with my mother and her sisters and my cousins, girl cousins, just totally interested. Actually, I have a letter that came about 5 years ago from my kindergarten teacher. Think about how many students in a 50-year period she's had.
Right.
And she wrote and she said that she remembered how creative I was, and they called my mother to come into school. This is like 1961, to come, and they were observing me, and she should push me in the direction of fashion. I think my mother looked at her like she was a little nuts as this 5-year-old boy.
Right.
And so it's always something that I loved, and I studied. I went to FIT, Fashion Institute of Technology in New York, and I had a few different jobs along the way in fashion. I couldn't find the right job, the right position. And then I saw an ad in Women's Wear, and it said designer, shipping, pattern making, sales. Well, I didn't know that they were looking to hire somebody for all those positions. Right. It wasn't like
one
job.
You're going to be a jack of all trades.
And he hired me, and I worked there. And then in 1983, I'm an only child, and I went to my parents and I said, I want to open up my own business. Can you help me do this? And my father was in the produce business, and that was the furthest business that I would ever dream of being in. It was a successful business. And I said, I don't want to be the son who takes the father's business at 50 years and drives it into the ground. Yeah. So let's do this.
That was helpful. It's our great story.
Yeah.
That's a good story.
So since 1983, obviously, fashion has come a long way. Do you think your design aesthetic has changed?
Well, yes and no. I'm really a classic. I like a trend, a touch of a trend. I like it to be modern, but I like a sophisticated, refined look. And I always liked it. Now, that said, in the 80s, the shoulder pads were big.
Right.
There was different looks. The earrings were gigantic. But there was that version, and then there was the kookier version. I never appealed, when we were at lunch the other day.
Yes.
I know some of those women like I know Grandma Gail 30 years. Right. Okay. So, I know, so those women, when they were 40 and 30 and whatever, and graduated with the times in fashion, but we sort of stayed the same. I'm sort of, I'm a little bit in the age group between you and Grandma Gail and her friends, but I'm closer to her age group than your age group.
For sure. That's for sure.
But I mean,
Dennis's look has remained very classic to this day. That's one of his great attributes, that you can take out one of Dennis's dresses from 30 years ago and maybe take the shoulder pad out. The fabric is still magnificent. Right. The lines are still beautiful, and it's au courant.
Yeah.
So that's what makes him a great designer and a step ahead of others that didn't really make the grade, which most of them don't.
Right. And what I pride myself in even now, we are dressing you, your mother, and
grandmother.
Yeah.
We have 3 generations of dressing, and then mixed in, we've dressed, when she was with us, Elizabeth Taylor. We did all the coats for Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada, and Melanie Griffith. I mean, it goes on, and Joan Collins, and the list is.
How do you approach dressing such a high-profile client? Like, is it different?
So, you know what's interesting? Funny you asked that. Years ago when I started out, the assistant would call and make the appointment, and you would go to Elizabeth Taylor or Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Yeah.
It changed. The stylist, the internet changed. Right. Meryl Streep is at home. The stylist says, go look up Dennis Basso and Vogue Runway. She said, I like number 23 and number 28. And then the stylist comes in, and maybe in the end, you're part of the fitting. But it's different. It's more, it's the internet.
It's less personal. It's a less personal thing.
So you met Elizabeth Taylor?
So I met her several times, but the first time I met her, she was staying in New York at the Plaza Athénée. She had borrowed a cashmere cake trimmed with fox from a girlfriend, and she wanted it.
Okay.
And they called me up. Her assistant called me up and ordered it, and I came, and they said, okay, come to the Plaza Athénée. And she was in a duplex suite, and I arrived there.
Were you nervous?
What?
Were you nervous?
Yes, and I was very young. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was probably 30 years ago, 35 years ago. I was waiting. I was there 3 hours. 3 hours. And then the famous hairdresser at the time who always wore the cowboy hat, his name was Jose Hebert from California. Yes. He comes down, he said, she'll be down in a few minutes. And he had 3 hours already. And she came down, and I said to him, what are all those gifts up? What are all those things on the dining room table? There was tons of alligator handbags in this. He said, oh, she likes presents.
Oh, wow.
And they said, we all like presents.
Exactly.
And he said, she's going to ask
you to give it to her.
To give this to her.
That's interesting. Even then, there was gifting.
Yeah, like how influencers get gifting.
And she came down, and like clockwork, I said, I'm so thrilled to be able to do it. She said, well, if you're so thrilled, she says, maybe you could give these to me.
Right.
And I said, I just went into business. That's not possible.
Right.
I said, I'm happy to give it to you. Yes, I thought, oh, really, girl?
Exactly.
Yes, and then I saw her several times after. I made her many things, actually.
Okay.
Yes, and she was...
Well, they expected it. It was an era
Everything for free?
Yeah, because they were the superstars. And it was to be something that Dennis would have made for her, would have been seen all over the world.
Right.
And they really felt entitled. But I'm sure she was very nice about it in the end.
But it's so funny you said that. I just saw it on Instagram, online or something. I made the white mink coat that Liza Minnelli wore when she married...
Peter Allen?
No, after the last husband.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it was
Okay,
that. I went to that wedding.
So you did?
Yes. And that was at
Love Life.
Cipriani Wall Street. And the white mink coat is now on eBay.
I was going to say, how much are they reselling that
Nothing.
for?
It's like $5,000.
I'm gonna go right now and buy it.
Kimberly wants
her,
that.
Yeah, but her coat, that's like a
Well, that's what I thought. I thought that was pretty reasonable.
But it's pretty fun.
yeah,
It's pretty
it's
fun.
very reasonable, very interesting. So do you have like a muse for 2024?
So, it's interesting. My collection, which we're putting together right now, I'm using New York as the gateway to modern fashion. And I'm sort of taking the inspiration from generational, no one individual.
Yeah.
Just sort of like a feeling of all of the different people and the women who are coming. The world has changed so. I mean, I'm here in Palm Beach, and every day I see, everywhere I go, people from New York, people from the Hamptons, people from here. It's sort of like we're like sort of like in one little crazy circle.
Yeah.
Well, down here it's New York winter. So everyone sort of migrates, especially older New Yorkers migrate to the South. So they seem to be coming down here. But I think you're so smart. New York is still the center of the culture.
Yes.
It's certainly for America at this point. It might be taken over by somewhere out in Aspen eventually. But right now it's still New York. With all the problems we have in our cities, we still have to have some kind of beauty. And you are creating that.
Yes.
But I think the difference is you're making it generational. You're not making it only for the staid woman.
Right.
You're making it for the young girl who's in her late 20s that perhaps has a very special occasion to go to. For the young bride who you only can get
a lot of weddings.
And that's what your look is. Kim.
But when the time comes, I know who to call.
Exactly. So I think that is so great. And that it doesn't have to be one muse. It can be all of the women that you know in your life.
Also, my real philosophy is fashion should really make you look good, but it really should make you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful combination. Otherwise, and you could say, well, fashion, it seems the world there's so many other more important things going on, but it's part of who we are. And I think people want to look nice and you want to feel good. And if you're not going to get something special, whether it's $10 at a discount store, you can find something pretty.
Absolutely.
Really pretty if you just look.
Right.
Or it's something that was $1 zillion. If it's not going to do something for you, that's wear the same old t-shirt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go back into your closet.
Right.
I agree.
So let's talk about date night outfits. What would you have dressed a woman in when you first started your career? And then what would you dress a woman in today for a date?
Well,
for Kim.
Me versus Gail.
So the
Me versus
difference
Gail,
is,
right. There is a big difference.
I mean,
Well,
years ago, if you went out on a date and you were really wearing like
a little
a
black
dress, a little dress and heels and a bag and a little jacket. And
Right.
you were dressed up, whether you were classic or a little bit more than classic. But today, I think depending on where you're going, a normal date, but you're just not like
a bar
outdoor
for
fancy
drinks.
restaurant, and you came out dressed like that, I think the guy would look at you like you were out of your mind.
just too much.
It's just not who we.
Exactly.
It's not. It's not who we are today. It's not where the world is.
Yeah.
But it depends. Because when I'm in the south of France and I see my friends' daughters and they're going out on a date,
Absolutely.
they're wearing some off-the-shoulder, low-cut, ruffly dress with the highest platform shoes and a bag with embroidery. So I think it's sort of cultural.
Yeah. And that's vacation too. You're always kind of getting dressed.
They're living there.
Oh,
There's other
okay.
people that I know that have homes in the south of France and they live in the UK or they live in Paris or they live, and that
Culture.
is a little bit more. In America, you look adorable right now. You could go right now on any date night out.
I wouldn't wear this on a date.
Well,
I could, but I wouldn't.
you could have. I wouldn't. Well, wait a minute.
Okay.
There's the first date, and then there's 10 dates in
10 dates
to
in,
go to
this
the
is
movie.
fine.
Yes, okay.
Right, okay.
There's-
First
there's all
date,
A little low cut.
First date, what are you putting me in?
In Palm Beach.
Let's
in New York.
Palm Beach and New York.
So in New York, maybe a tight turtleneck
Okay.
and some high-waisted, pleated, very wide-leg pants.
That's what you wear.
And our high, I think boys, no matter what, like a high heel.
Yeah.
They may not say it or know it, but there's something about that.
Sexy.
And I like a pointy, skinny heel, and like a cute little puffer jacket, maybe with a big gray. I mean, this isn't the perfect world.
Yeah.
Great big Gucci or Hermes scarf. And,
You look fabulous.
Yeah, I
extra eyeliner, and you're like home free.
it.
Like that's like a good look. That's
Great look.
That's like a good look.
Great look.
Right.
I will be wearing that on my next date.
Yes, and maybe if it was something where you were going a little bit more dressy, maybe that turtleneck was like a lace knit.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like that
Like a
too.
lace knit
Oh
turtleneck.
my God, she's going
Where
to
do
be
I
on.
get that?
She's going to be online this afternoon.
know,
looking
looking
for
for
a
a
lace knit.
turtleneck is nice.
Yes. I always do a turtleneck. There is something sexy about a turtleneck, even though it's very covered.
Yeah, but if it's
It has to be tight.
fortunate enough to have
Yeah.
the right figure,
Yeah.
Right.
and actually that's so interesting. Today,
I don't think
we've broadened the scope. The figure thing,
So-
there's people are body positive and people are wearing different things. And if you're curvy, I'm on QVC and we go from, as you know, double extra small
Right.
to 5X. And there's no reason why, if you're a curvy girl, that you should look good. Also, when we were young, curvy girls only were restricted to certain looks. You would never think that, oh no, I'm curvy, I can't wear that. And today,
You don't think
everybody
that way.
wears what they want to wear. And I'm a little bit old school. I mean, I'm not, I think it could be 1,000 degrees out. I'm not wearing like a sleeveless t-shirt. Okay. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
No matter what. I was doing it when I was 30, when I
Right.
was 40. I'm not clearly doing it at 70's door. I mean,
But you could. The thing is,
Yes,
nobody
nobody
should
would-
be intimidated anymore.
Right. You're
And I think
100%
that's the
correct.
issue, because I feel that if you feel good, you can carry any look off.
Yes.
And that really is the one plus about fashion in 2024. I think we should just be proud of whatever Dennis would put you in, you would look well.
I think
And it
you
doesn't
would,
matter.
yes.
Your body doesn't matter. He'll make it to your
Well,
body.
right, because when it's like styled properly too,
Correct.
you
That's
know,
the
I feel like
answer.
that's part of it. Like sometimes if I'm like wearing a sweater, I feel gross, but suddenly I put hoops on and I put rings on and I put heels on and I feel
And you look,
yeah,
then you look great.
style.
I have no problem telling someone that's not for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I want people to look
To look well.
what I think, and I feel like I have I would hope to think, a good handle on what's right. So, as you saw last week when we had the fashion show
Right.
for the ovarian cancer luncheon,
Yeah.
Right.
that collection could go on many different women with many different body types, and we always now show when we show the collection on a full-figured model.
Which is wonderful. That
Yes, I
I'm
mean-
so proud of that. I think
Yes.
that's one of the big pluses that we have now. And your things were gorgeous. I mean, they were
thank you.
absolutely
Yes.
beautiful. And the crowd loved it. The women all appreciated it, loved it, and loved that you were being honored. So it was that was a special afternoon.
Yes, and for a very good cause.
Yes.
Because, I mean, ovarian cancer is,
It's a killer.
Sadly,
Yeah.
we have a young cousin who was like a niece who went to the big place in the
Yeah.
sky,
Yeah.
and a young mother.
My mother-in-law died of it very quickly. And one of the researchers who's working for the ovarian
She was young,
group,
youngish.
well, she was in her early 70s, and she died
That's
very
unusual
quickly.
to get
Yeah,
at that age,
yeah, she
right?
did. She was active, and she was doing things. She was working for her alma mater down, actually, for something. And she said to my husband, she said, I don't feel well. Went to the doctor, and 6 weeks later, she was
6
gone.
weeks?
6 weeks.
That's
So
brutal.
the truth is, it's a cause that we all have to get behind. Every cause
Well, there's a
is
million of them,
a million of them, and but that's one of the ones that really goes very quickly, unfortunately, and unless you catch it very early, it's a problem.
Well, today,
that's
all
it.
sicknesses,
There are
as I say,
treatments.
early detection,
Early detection,
is what really
yeah,
could save a life. I mean,
no question, no question. It's a wonderful thing, and we're getting on top of it with all the research. We're not finished with it. I'm a survivor, and I know that they've been talking about surviving for years, and that it's going to be the end of cancer. Unfortunately, it isn't. There's always another form that it takes. So we all have to get behind it, and you are a role model in that area. So I'm proud to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
All right, Kim,
Okay,
let's get to a letter
let's
lighter.
get to dating.
Oh,
There we go.
gosh.
So, obviously, Grandma Gail, before she got married, she was dating in the 50s and 60s. you were dating in the 70s and 80s, right? So what do you think one of the main differences was, especially as a gay man during that time versus when grandma was dating?
So I'm an only child, and I have a cousin who you met last week.
Yes.
Was like my sister, and she is the same age as Grandma Gail.
Okay.
And we had a summer house, and she would come spend the summers, and I was like 10 and she was 20 or something like that. 9 and she was 21, whatever.
Right.
And the boys would come and she'd go out, but she came home.
Right.
Girls,
Right.
I kind of could say that, girls weren't giving it away.
That's
Sure.
correct.
Right. And we had this small conversation ourselves.
Yeah.
Girls who were giving it away were really bad girls.
Yeah, they were
the
put in a
world that
different
we lived in,
category.
okay?
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
want to sound like a snob.
No, but it was
Right.
different.
It was so different.
It was different. And most women who were married once maybe only know one man personally, or maybe one other that she might have been
Right.
engaged to, and then they broke up. But
Right. Well, now if you haven't slept with someone by the 5th date, it's weird.
today,
Yeah. Today.
it's crazy.
Well,
Right.
it's all.
So the biggest difference from the 70s, 80s to the 50s, 60s in your experience.
What happened was there was the whole. Not that everybody became a hippie in the late 60s and 70s, but there was the Beatles and everything changed.
Well, it was Vietnam, and people who are listening to the podcast can't really relate to this. America was at war. We saw it on television. People were going crazy, and I think all the old values that the young people were being told had to be were thrown out because we saw death and destruction, and young people rebelled. So you had the 60s and 70s really were the time of rebellion, I would say,
And
amongst
in the
young
late
people.
70s, when I was in high school,
And don't forget at that, I'm going to interrupt you, Dad. Don't forget at this particular moment in time, being a gay man or a gay woman was not acceptable. Really, you didn't out yourself very
we
readily.
didn't even know that we were really gay. First of all,
But some did.
Right. I
But
mean,
some
we
did.
did, but
Some
yes,
did.
but we didn't. Wait, I might have known I was gay.
Right.
All of my friends, nobody really came out.
Right.
This sounds so terrible.
No.
Until after their college was paid for.
Yes. No. But
Everybody was afraid. Everybody went away to college.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody was having a good time.
Yeah.
And nobody was like coming home, with my friends.
Yeah.
I don't know what the guys
your
know in other
experience.
chaps. We don't know those people.
Right.
You know,
But
it's
this
like-
is the 70s also. Don't
Yes.
forget, it's the 70s.
yes.
So it was becoming the norm that you were.
But the boy-girl thing
Right.
there was the fall off. It became a little
Freer.
Okay.
Girls were being.
question.
You could, yes, it changed.
Yeah.
It changed. People
Changed
were doing it.
drastically.
Right.
Even if they weren't wild, they were doing it a little.
And, and husbands and wives were splitting up.
Right.
Because women now all of a sudden realized in the late 70s, where was my experiences? I didn't have any
But our
experiences.
mothers, forget it. They went really from
Right.
home to their husband.
Correct. I did.
My parents were married in 1948. And your parents were married what, in the 40s?
No, 30. My parents were married 39.
Well, we have that 10-year difference.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, it's exactly
That
that.
was like, forget it. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You couldn't even, it wasn't even the hunger. And even the boys, I think if the boys were messing around, they were really messing around with girls from as the old expression,
wrong
the
side
wrong
of the
side of the
tracks.
tracks. Right, exactly.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So there was a very, then all of a sudden the 80s came in and it calmed down a little.
wrong side of the
And the wrong side of the track. And then in the 80s and 90s, people were starting to actually know about their sexuality and talk about it. It really wasn't kept quiet.
But you never sat down with your parents or your friends and be like, just so you guys know.
So,
Yeah.
apropos of that, I would finish school. I was living in New York, and my mother and I was very close with my aunt and very close with my parents. I mean, really, like, when I see the two of you in that whole thing, it makes me, I had a wonderful, wonderful relationship with my whole family.
So nice.
My father was a little bit older, and mother and my aunt came in to stay with me, and my first apartment was at 200 East 58th Street. The doorman building. I thought I died and went to heaven 2 blocks from Bloomingdale's. I thought, it doesn't get better than
No,
this.
That's true.
This is like 1976. And I think it was no surprise. The mothers are the first to know and the last to admit it, is the expression.
Interesting.
And I said, and they said yes, and this is okay, and it's like whatever. So I said, well, what about Daddy? And my mother said, you know what?
Daddy will be
Let's
fine.
not even let's just
Right.
let this pass, Daddy.
Right.
We don't
Exactly.
have to
Have a
we don't have
conversation
to have
with
a
Daddy.
conversation.
Okay.
So I said, in all these years, did he ever ask, like,
Yeah.
Dennis is Gary?
No,
Never.
because they never thought about that. And if they thought about it, they kept those thoughts in the back of their mind.
And I was artistic. I was always artistic,
right.
and I was always doing the
Yeah.
right thing, and I was always
a good student,
I
and
was
he
a
was
good
proud
student.
of you. He was proud of you. This is what he,
And they watched me.
Exactly.
They watched me have my first fashion show in 1983.
Yeah.
Listen, but I'll tell you a very funny story. So now I go into my own fur business, and I do the whole thing. And my mother, of course, had a ton of furs before I went into the business. And she said, I think I want a new sable jacket. So I said, okay. So I told her, I said, well, to buy those sable skins, this is the amount, whatever it was. So I go home that weekend, and my father says, your mother's getting a new jacket. My father never said no to her. This was not part of that. That was that. My mother tells all the girls your age over the years ago, the way you start is the way you finish.
That's right.
You mold them from the beginning.
Well, what
And
you
he
have in
said-
the beginning, you
yes.
have all your life.
And he said to me, let me ask you, Dennis, is that the best price?
I love it.
That's so funny.
Okay.
cute.
Is that
That's
the best
good.
price? I said, yes.
I like it.
Yeah, so I mean, they were very supportive, and they were okay, and he never really,
He didn't want to know.
he didn't want to know. He didn't
And that's the
wanna know.
way.
But,
That's the way it is.
and they knew, the girls knew,
Yeah.
and they,
So you dated women at one point?
Yes.
Yeah.
No. I'm one of the few boys, I think, who
No, dated both.
played that side of the field
Right,
quite
right,
well,
right.
actually.
Okay, great.
Okay, I did a good job
Yeah.
at that. It was okay. It wasn't the worst thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was okay. I mean, when
And in that time, a lot of people had dual thoughts about it. They weren't 100% sure. Most.
Well, you don't have to be sure. I mean,
No,
sexuality is a
they
spectrum,
experienced
so
both,
you
like,
can.
they
yeah.
experienced male and female partners.
Sure.
And there was nothing wrong
and
with
also,
that.
even now, the group of friends, and you'll see, like, my good friend Michael Warburg.
Yes.
Who's going to come
Who was on our
tomorrow.
podcast.
He was
Yes,
on our
he's
podcast. He was so good.
And all of our friends, I call us blazer gays.
What does that mean?
Well, like,
Very-
we're like very following
They're traditional
the
gays.
traditional, and they're all now getting married,
Yeah.
and
They're all
everyone's having
and
babies.
they're
Right.
leading traditional lives. Which is wonderful.
Everybody's having babies.
Blazer
Right.
gays. I love
Families.
it.
Well,
Right,
they're
that's
having
my
families.
term.
What did a typical date night look like for you? And then what do you do now with Michael, like on a fun date night?
So
So when you were young, what did you do?
now, when we're younger, then
We went to the movies. See, we were big movie people. I don't know.
yes, we went to the movies.
We were sort of boring.
We would go date. It was a
Well, you used to had Studio 54.
yes.
See,
But
that-
that really, the studio nights weren't really date nights.
No,
Oh, yeah.
you're right.
that was-
You're right.
I mean,
You're
we
right.
were like,
Okay.
we
You're
were
right.
going there, we were getting, we were 3 sheets to the wind.
Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
gone.
So you went. Did you go frequently?
All the time.
I'm so jealous.
All the time. It was something that will never be, because you could have gone there and you were with people who were 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. It was
Yeah.
just an unbelievable mix. And
Yeah.
that was, but I mean, when we were dating early on, we were going sometimes on a Sunday to brunch. That was a big afternoon date scenario. Or we'd go to somebody's out with a couple of other couples, or alone to the movies. We'd get something to eat, or something more special. If there was a hot Broadway show, we would do that. It was
It was normal dating.
Yeah.
The truth is, nobody's really come up with any better formula for dating. Dating is dating. The big difference now, Kim, that none of us really had, and I don't think Dennis did as well, we were not meeting in bars to go out on a date. You'd go to a bar to have a drink. It wasn't your intention to pick up
You
someone.
had to really be introduced.
Yeah,
Almost. That
you
was the
really,
best way.
that was.
You know what? No matter what they say,
It's still
that's
a good
still
way.
the best way.
It's still a
We're
good
trying to
way.
introduce
I
you
know.
to
Before
someone.
we started recording, Dennis was like, "So this is the guy for
Right.
that I'm going to set you up with."
No, I think that still is. It still
agree.
seems to be the.
Preferred.
But you know, date night though is popular with all of our friends. So someone will say, "Oh, do you want to have dinner Friday night with us?" Like two other couples, and somebody will say, "Oh no, we're gonna have date night."
Right, like one-on-one
Yeah, so
time.
we'll go out, and sometimes we have date night in the Hamptons, where his favorite date night is like staying home and cooking.
That's cute though.
That's very cute.
Yeah.
And you know, this past Christmas, we decided to stay in the Hamptons from Christmas
beautiful.
through New Year's.
Right.
And you know, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for Christmas? At this point,
Nothing.
30 years later, I mean,
Right.
you know, if you want something, you just go get
Right,
it.
right,
you know?
buy it yourself.
So we said, I would like to have a week of no plans.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
You know, I like plans.
That's tough for you, Dennis.
Okay. So I said, okay. And we went home and we went out for a bite. And should we do this or should we get takeout pizza? I don't know. It was okay.
It's more spontaneous though when you don't have things pre-planned.
Yes,
it's like
he
whatever
likes-
you're in the
yes.
mood for,
Yes.
you'll do. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
That's
this
where
week-
two different individuals got together. This is something
Yeah,
so
with such
interesting.
different personalities.
When we discuss it with your dating, Kim, we often say you want certain attributes, certain kinds of things that you can do together, but sometimes really opposites do attract.
Right.
And so you have to give somebody the benefit of going out and seeing, and we're talking to our audience now, if somebody is different, give them a try. You never know.
You can connect with someone on a
Right.
level that you can't connect with other people who maybe do have the same
Right.
wake up at the same time as you or whatever it is. Sometimes that stuff becomes less important when
Correct.
you
We have a great deal in common. We have a very similar value system about things.
That's the
We
whole
like to
thing.
live a certain way.
Okay, let's move on to our little pop culture topic that I want to talk about, especially with Dennis, which is the mob wife aesthetic. It's all over social media, and it's basically so before that we've embraced like that quiet luxury that since Sophia Richie got married at Ducap and everyone was wearing Chanel and everyone was trying to get that minimalistic look.
Right.
Then now people are saying they want to have the mob wife aesthetic, which is the big curly blowout, the long nails, the fur coat, animal prints, big sunglasses. So first, both of your opinions on this trend.
When I think as an Italian American, when we think of mob wives, we think of Italian.
Yes.
So the true Italians, not the Italian Americans
Right.
that depict that,
Yeah.
is something that we want to stay clear of. It's just wrong.
Right.
From every level, the pattern of speech, the look, the thing. That said, there are certain elements in the mob wife dressing that
It's fun.
could be fun.
Could be
a
fun.
great handbag, big sunglasses, but only you and your girlfriends, or
Right.
girls younger than you, women
Yeah.
younger, who say, "Oh, let's sort of get dressed up mob wife tonight, mob wife,
Yeah.
and go girls' night out." But any woman who's over 40 or 50
Yeah.
wants to dress, it's
They're not going to do that.
wrong.
True.
It's wrong. It's bad.
It's like
not
goes
even
from
good.
chic to like
Ugly.
fashion disaster a little bit.
Yes.
Well, I have to tell you, in my opinion, I don't mind the little boa. I love, because I was a big fan of Gina Lola Brigida. To me, that was the true American Italian look of the
Sexy, but that's different
60.
than-
But that was different. But it was never that over the tongue.
Guadis,
Right.
something
Right.
like that.
Oh, Teresa Giudice
Right. They
from
were-
Real Housewives.
Well, the Real Housewives is this look. So anybody who wants to look like the Real Housewives should follow
Right.
this look.
It's-
Most people are not going to follow this look. They might take an accessory.
Well, I think
here
also
and
it's
there.
like obviously people are more environmentally cautious now. Maybe they're going for a faux fur. Maybe they're vintage shopping and finding that
But it's
fur.
beyond the fur. It's the whole
It's a
thing.
whole
Yes.
look.
Yeah, it's
It's
the
a short
The
skirt.
nails
It's-
that are out
exactly.
to here. It's just.
I think we're more on the quiet luxury, clean girl.
No, you
vibes
know my look.
ourselves.
A white button-down shirt is not going into the mob
Yeah,
look.
okay.
But I think it's fun. I think young girls should try it. If they want to pick an accessory that's out of, the box, let them do it.
Yeah.
Try it. It's not a look that's going to last. And what I would advise, and I'm sure Dennis is going to agree with me, I wouldn't spend a lot of money on it.
Oh no!
Because
an
it's
item.
it's an item, and that's fine. It's fine. You could dress up a pair of jeans with some funky thing that can be the look for the weekend. But don't put your paycheck into this look. I don't think it's going to be around.
Yeah, I think and I think that whole trend is being created by those people. I don't think that
By the
they're not putting
influencer
it on.
who likes
I don't see
this.
any runway in Paris right now
Right.
showing it really.
That's a great point. Like who?
Right.
Also, let's make
don't
the
know.
question. Like who now do you?
Who could be
think-
mob wife-ish in general is Donatella Versace.
No
she
way.
has that look.
Well, that she has the
That's
look.
that look.
But
That's
also,
that look, and that's not exactly the Grace Kelly look.
No.
As
no.
an opinion from a fashion designer, though, like who do you think now creates the trend? Is it still the big fashion houses, or is it the influencers?
So I think the influences could create a trend, but it's the big fashion houses that have the money and the power. And the good, I have to tell you, it's a little amazing to me between this Balmain on one side of the street and Balenciaga on the other side of the street on 59th Street. And I look in the window sometimes as a designer.
Right.
And I think,
Who's wearing
who the
it?
hell? Who's
wearing
wearing this? Who's buying this? What
Kimmy
is
and I
this?
talk about that all the time.
Who's
I mean,
wearing that?
That might be great on somebody who's going to to a Met Ball or to some very special occasion somewhere. I don't even know where. But most clothes that are those way out things don't go to the normal woman's
I
body.
have a friend, a close friend, who has a very big position at Dior Men's. And I said, so who is buying? And it's the complete rich urban and the Asian market.
Oh, yeah.
And they're buying that
All right. So
Right.
there
That
is somebody who's buying.
crocodile jackets and
Yeah.
boss with
Right.
crazy stuff.
Right.
I mean,
But it's not selling to mainstream America.
No.
And it's also not selling to the top line of people. It's not going, it's to the one percenters. It's going to a particular fashion conscious person who for the moment wears it and then gives it away to somebody else. So I think we shouldn't dwell on it. Dennis's clothes are timeless. See, I'd rather have one Dennis's dress than all those other accessories because that will stay in my closet and I can wear it year after year. And that makes a great designer. With that,
With
Dennis,
that,
the quiz.
I want to finish the episode with a quiz that we give to all of our guests.
okay.
So it's Grandma Gail's old-fashioned dating quiz. So we're going to go through some hypothetical dating questions, and you will be able to tell whether you're more modern or old-fashioned.
I know what it's going to be.
Okay.
All right.
So first one is, would you rather receive a call or a text from your partner if it's just to say hi?
Oh, cool.
Call. Okay.
Cool.
Would you sleep with someone on the first date?
No.
Would you rather be set up by a friend or...
Shut up.
Okay. Would you move in together before getting engaged or wait until you're engaged?
Not really, because I think you should be in the process of the possibility.
Yeah.
They used to say in my family, the women, why buy the cow when the milk is free?
Right.
And it's right.
You got it.
Right. We have the same view.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, last one. Who should pay for the date?
Oh, the boy. It's not even a question unless
Yeah.
the boy has taken you out numerous times. Maybe you invite him over for dinner and you make a beautiful dinner and have a good bottle of wine and you've created that meal.
Yeah. And what if it's not like a heteronormative like relationship?
What?
Like if it's not a heteronormative relationship, or
If it's a
if
gay
it's like
relationship, it's still the same thing.
So with the gay, so it's interesting
Yeah.
with the gay couple.
It's still the person who
There's one, like in every couple, there's always one who's
the initiator.
the bigger, okay, but
The initiator.
the initiator. So at the beginning, I pay,
Okay.
then you pay. But we find, which is very interesting, with some of the younger couples that we're friends with, successful men, real successful. And we'll go out with some of these couples, and when it's time to pay, instead of each couple giving one credit card, they all take out their credit card.
Really?
And when
Even
we
if
don't-
they're couples?
Yes, it's weird because they're a new couple, but when we're going out with couples that I like that, I say to Michael, remember if we're not the hosts,
Right.
we're all going to chip in. Remember,
Put yours out.
We're going to all put our credit card out, and I just think it's sort of an interesting thing.
That's sort of sad in a way.
Yes,
I don't love that.
I don't love that
Because
either.
I think no matter what it is, whether it's a single heterosexual
Right,
or
homosexual,
a homosexual relationship, I think the man and woman are exactly the same. If you're a couple, you're a couple.
Right.
One person pulls the credit card. Now, if everybody can't afford it,
That's a
and
different
different
story.
thing,
But
then I
these
think
kids
everybody
can't.
should put their credit card
These
in.
people-
But if you're a really couple and you're both successful, figure it out
Where it
before you go
Right,
out.
right.
What gets confusing for me is like when I go out with a couple and then also
That's tricky.
If you're a single girl
Yeah.
alone with a couple,
Yeah.
they should not let you
No,
pay.
they never do.
sometimes.
But no, then you usually take
Better that you pay for all three and say,
Right.
I want to take you this time.
Right. I agree.
Even when we go out with a single, you never let the
Let the
single
single
pay.
person
I mean, but we're from another,
We are from another
and
generation.
we also like maybe the not splitting. I'm taking you and
this
Poppy,
time.
and then you're going to take me.
Correct,
like
next time.
it's sort of
Yeah.
on that revolving
Right,
scale.
it's a
So.
little-
Especially if you know each other.
Yes.
If it's your first time going out
Out with
together,
another
that's
couple.
different.
Yeah.
But if, the two couples have been going, say, this is my treat, this Sam, you'll
Yes,
take
yes,
that.
you'll
Yeah.
take it the next time. Don't pay for the books.
Right.
I don't want you paying.
I don't think she does.
I
She does
don't,
a
I
reach.
don't.
She does a
I
reach.
do the
Do they
reach. I
ever
go,
ask any bad dates where they like try to like?
do you know what? No one has said like, are you paying for it? Actually, I have had someone say, how are you not paying for this? But it was someone that I was already dating and we broke up shortly after that. But there was usually on a date, like I'll say, can I split it with you? And
Yeah,
then-
well, that's sort of not.
Right.
Oh, I have to say no,
Right.
no, no.
Oh yeah, they say no, of course not.
Right.
And should they think if they're paying that they should be getting an extra kiss later on?
I don't think so.
That's-
I think any girl who thinks that they have to give something back just because my company should be.
Before we go, I'm going to ask you a question. So you go on a date. You go on a date for the first time. You get set up.
Yeah.
So when it's time to say goodnight, they're trying to have a smooch or not.
It really depends. I feel like
Smooch.
for
They still
me,
use that word. I don't even know. Right.
90% of the time I would say no on a first date, which a lot of people probably would disagree with me with. I usually just go right in for it was so nice to meet you, and I hug. But a lot of people usually when I debrief with my friends, they're like, so did you kiss? So I think most people kind of like, I would say it's 50-50.
Depending if they're really cute.
No, if I'm into
Well, that changes.
No, of course. If I'm into them, that's a totally different.
Well, after one date,
situation.
I still
just
say-
usually I don't know, and
Right.
I don't like when someone assumes that they can kiss you at the first date because I haven't given my confirmation yet that like I like you and I want to go out again. So sometimes I'm sort of just like, whoa, like I don't even like you, so why are you trying to kiss me?
Yeah, right.
I also have had an issue recently. I forgot if we talked about this, where people have said like, "Oh, I tried to kiss you on the last date, but you kind of dodged it," and I don't even realize that I'm doing it. And I think it's like, if someone's really tall, I don't even realize, and I'm just quickly going in for the hug because there's so much time before they get.
You got to date shorter guys. I told you
No,
that.
I'm serious, and then I don't even realize what's happening.
Kimberly
But
always.
the guy should make it clear that they're like, it should not be ambiguous. I could talk about this for 2 hours.
I don't think. I think we should end this.
That's
conversation.
it. That's enough questioning.
Exactly.
Dennis, thank you so much for
This
joining
is so much
us.
fun. I love this. This is so great.
We
Tell
love
people
being with
how
you.
they can follow you and go on your
They
website.
can follow me at Dennis Basso on Instagram or even on Facebook.
Okay,
Dennis Basso.
perfect.
Come on.
Don't forget to watch him on QVC and go into his beautiful store if you're ever in
Yes, on
Manhattan.
57th Street between Park and Madison.
It's a treat.
This was great. I love being with you girls. Let's do it. Let's cook together one
Oh
time.
my gosh.
Come on, we'll make something
Anybody that
Italian.
wants to cook with
Oh, yeah,
then,
We'll
okay.
make something Italian.
Deal.
Come in, I'll make, we'll
Make
make
meatballs,
Italian
maybe.
tomato sauce and meatballs.
Yeah, I love
That's a
that.
deal,
that's
Dennis.
that's a plan.
That's a plan.
Thank you
That's a
guys
wrap.
for watching. You know how to follow us. Excuse my grandma, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.